Rain slides through the narrow lane of Ndogo Market as Sifa walks toward the family compound, holding a hot plate on her palm. She hums a silly tune that makes a small child nearby snort with laughter, and for a moment the whole lane feels lighter. When she reaches the back door, she sees it open just a little, a wooden stool waiting outside. Mama Tewa stands in the doorway, her face hard to read, and tells Sifa to eat out there. A few neighbors look up from their food, curious and quiet. Sifa lets out a thin laugh she didn't plan, the kind that sounds more confused than amused. She places her plate on the step, sits on the stool, and pulls her shawl close as the cool night air settles on her shoulders. She can hear the clatter of dishes and soft talk from inside, voices rising and falling around a table she is not allowed to join. She lifts her first forkful, and the world seems to hold its breath. The single bulb above her flickers, casting a small circle of light that makes her feel alone in a way she has never felt before. She keeps eating, even though her throat is tight, even though she feels like a joke everyone is too polite to mention. The city noise goes on around her, lively and uncaring, while she sits on the step with her warm plate and a growing, sharp awareness of how easy it is to be pushed aside. The days begin to blend together, each one carrying the same quiet sting. At family gatherings in Choma Square, everyone gathers around the big table, passing bowls, laughing, eating together. Sifa stands nearby with a smile that feels borrowed. Her own plate is always set outside on the porch, away from the warm noise of the room. She tries to make it look normal. She gives a soft chuckle, tells a small joke, says something playful so no one sees the way her chest tightens. People laugh, but the sound comes back to her thin and distant, like it is floating over water instead of landing beside her. When the nights come and the house sinks into silence, Sifa lets herself cry a little. Not loud cries, not the dramatic kind that shake your shoulders, just slow, tired tears that slide down without warning while she sits on the small mattress. She wipes them away fast, as if even her sadness must not make any noise. She asks Biko why this keeps happening, why no one stops it, why he does not say anything. He only shrugs and says it is how things are. That shrug hurts more than any word. It makes her feel small for a moment, then it pushes her into a kind of steady determination. She begins to collect tiny coins in a cloth pouch she hides under her clothes. Every time she sells vegetables at the market, she keeps a few coins aside. She tells herself it is for tea, but she knows it is really for strength. She boils her tea longer now, lets it grow bold and sharp, and as she drinks it, she reminds herself to speak a little clearer and a little stronger. At the market stall, she fixes torn aprons for customers, and each stitch feels like a promise she whispers into the fabric. She stitches pride into every hem, letting her hands move with slow, careful purpose. People in the market see her working and think she is just focused, but she knows she is building something inside herself. Something that does not depend on the porch or the table or who chooses to accept her. She watches the way the sun rises over the roofs each morning and tells herself that nothing stays the same forever. Not even the small cruelties that most people pretend not to see. Some evenings, as she sweeps the market stall floor, she imagines a version of herself who laughs without shrinking, a version who sits where she wants, a version who does not wait to be invited. The picture feels far away, but it also feels real, like a seed under soil that no one can see. She touches the cloth pouch of coins and feels hope settle in her chest. Little by little, the quiet around her begins to change shape. It no longer feels like a wall. It feels like space she can grow in, slow but steady, as she learns to claim her own voice. One warm afternoon, while Sifa is arranging tomatoes at her stall, an old friend from Lufubu walks in with the kind of smile that carries news. They talk about small things first, the weather, old neighbors, funny memories. Then the friend leans closer and tells her about a women's cooperative that is looking for seamstresses. The words land in Sifa's mind like a spark. She has sewn since she was young, stitching torn pockets, tightening loose buttons, fixing small problems no one ever noticed. Now someone actually needs that skill. Someone is asking for it. The next morning, she gathers her courage, washes her hands carefully, and walks to the cooperative hall. She expects to feel shy, but the room surprises her. It is full of women who talk loudly, tease each other, share stories, and welcome her with warm smiles. For the first time in a long while, she hears her own laugh rise up, real and strong, not the thin one she used to hide behind. The women show her patterns, fabrics, and small tricks they use to make stitching faster. She fits right in as if she had been there for years. Soon, she starts sewing headscarves and aprons. The colors are bright, the fabric smooth under her fingers. The first time she sells one, her heart jumps. The second sale makes her grin. By the fifth sale, she whispers "aha" into her palm, a tiny victory she keeps just for herself. Customers come back asking for more, telling her how good her work looks, how neat and careful her stitches are. Each compliment settles softly inside her, filling spaces she thought would always remain empty. Word spreads through the market. People stop by her stall not only for vegetables but to see her newest designs. Children run up to touch the fabrics and women ask, almost shyly, if she can make custom aprons for them. The market seems to cheer for her, not with loud shouts but with steady, growing attention. She walks home with her pouch of coins feeling taller, lighter, almost glowing. Mama Tewa watches all of this from a distance. She notices the way customers stop to talk to Sifa, the way some even praise her to her face. Instead of looking pleased, Mama Tewa rolls her eyes or clicks her tongue, but something flickers behind her expression, something unsure and shaken. She cannot deny what she sees. People respect Sifa's skill. They value her work in a way the house never did. As Sifa walks through the market each day, surrounded by women who greet her warmly and customers who call out her name, she feels a shift inside herself. The memory of being told to eat outside still stings, but now it feels different. It no longer sits on her shoulders like shame. It feels like a test she is quietly passing, a small fire she is learning to step through instead of hide from. When she sits alone at night counting her coins, she smiles without forcing it. Her hands smell of cloth and dye. Her chest feels full in a steady, peaceful way. She is no longer waiting for someone to give her a place. She is making her own. Months pass, and Sifa's sewing grows faster than she ever planned. Every week she makes more scarves, more aprons, more small items people want. Soon her corner of the market becomes too crowded. People line up, asking if she has more colors, more patterns, more time. One evening, as she packs up her things, she notices a tiny empty room on Kitala Road with a dusty window and a crooked door. The rent is small, almost unbelievable. She stands there for a long minute, heart beating hard, then whispers to herself that maybe it is time. A week later, she turns the key for the first time. The click of the lock feels like thunder in her chest. She almost shouts with joy, then quickly covers her mouth, laughing into her hands like a child caught stealing sweets. The room smells of dust and old wood, but to her, it feels brand new. She wipes the counters, folds fabrics on the shelves, and sets a little kettle in the corner. When she steps outside and looks at the small sign above the door with her name painted in bright letters, her eyes burn with disbelief. The shop becomes more than a place to sew. Neighbors wander in and sit with her, telling secrets over hot tea. People confess worries, share small triumphs, and laugh about things they would never say at home. The room fills with warm whispers and quiet laughter that feels like healing. Sifa hires another woman, someone who once sat on the same lonely step eating from her own porch plate. Together they sew and talk and build something gentle and strong. Across the lane, Mama Tewa watches from her window. She sees the painter lift his brush and make Sifa's name bold and bright. Sometimes she coughs into her hand and looks away as if the letters sting her eyes. Other times she watches for too long, her face shifting into something softer, something troubled, almost like she is trying to swallow her own pride. Each night Sifa walks home with tired hands and a full heart. She counts her earnings in a tin under her bed, listening to the coins clink like small promises. The sound warms her chest in a way nothing else ever has. She hums lullabies she learned as a child, soft tunes that float into the darkness as she thinks about the road she has walked, the days she ate outside alone, the nights she cried quietly so no one would hear. Now she closes the shop each day with the same steady joy. She locks the door, pockets the key, and stands for a moment on Kitala Road with her head slightly lifted, feeling the gentle push of hope inside her. It is not loud. It is not flashy. But it is hers, growing warm and strong, pressing softly against her ribs like a heartbeat she finally recognizes as her own. One evening during a family meal, a cousin with shaky hands keeps waving his phone around, trying to record a funny moment at the table. No one pays him much attention. Sifa is outside on the porch as usual, her plate placed beside her on the step like it has always been. She thinks the cousin is filming something inside, not realizing the phone catches her too, sitting alone with her meal. The next morning she hears whispers in the market before she even sets down her basket. Someone shows her the video. It is only a few seconds long, but those seconds cut deep. The plate on the step, the laughter inside, the door half closed between her and everyone else. The clip spreads faster than she can understand. People add comments, some joking, some cruel, and some demanding answers. Strangers argue in the comment section as if they know her whole life. At her shop, customers glance at her, then whisper behind their hands. When one woman asks, "Is this really you?" Sifa lets out a laugh she did not mean to make. It bursts out sharp and strange, like it belongs to someone else. Then the laugh catches in her throat, and she presses her palm to her chest to steady her breathing. She feels the old shame rise again, heavy and familiar, as though the world has reached back into her past and dragged it into the light. But the internet, with all its noise, brings something she never expected. Between the mocking comments, there are messages from people she has never met. Women write to her saying they understand, saying they have eaten on their own steps too. Others tell her to stay strong, to hold her ground, to keep sewing. Some customers come from far corners of the city just to buy from her, saying they want to support her because they saw the clip. One woman hugs her tightly and whispers, "You deserve better," and for a moment Sifa has to look down so her eyes don't show too much. At home, the video becomes impossible to ignore. Relatives shuffle around awkwardly, avoiding her eyes. Biko mutters that people online exaggerate, but his voice shakes. And in the center of it all stands Mama Tewa, her mouth pressed tight. She watches the screen again and again, the same short clip, the same porch plate, the same quiet picture of her own coldness. Her stiff smile begins to slip. The cracks show in the way she clears her throat too often, the way she avoids the porch, the way she flinches when someone mentions the video. The household can no longer pretend the small cruelties are invisible. Everyone sees them now. Everyone comments. Everyone judges. The world outside has held up a mirror, and the reflection is not kind. Sifa feels exposed, but she also feels something else rising beneath the shock. People care. People see her. People are cheering for her in a way she never expected. The shame still stings, but it does not crush her. Instead, she stands a little straighter in her shop, breathes a little deeper, and reminds herself that she survived the real thing long before it went viral. When Sifa opens her little cafe beside her shop, the whole lane feels alive. The room is small but bright, with sunlight slipping through the windows and bouncing off the mismatched cups she has collected from every corner of the market. Some cups have chipped handles, some have faded flowers, some look too fancy for a place so humble, but together they make the room feel warm and real. Near the entrance hangs a handmade sign that simply says, "Come in," painted with the same confidence she found the day she opened her shop. People walking by slow down, smile, and peek inside as if the sign is tugging gently at their sleeves. On opening night, the cafe fills with soft chatter, clinking cups, and the smell of fresh bread rising from the small oven she borrowed from a neighbor. Children press their faces to the glass. Women laugh into their scarves, and old men shuffle in pretending they only came to check the place. even though their eyes keep drifting to the pastries. Sifa moves through the room calmly, greeting every person with the gentle steadiness she has grown into. Each smile she gives feels earned, not forced. Then the room shifts when Mama Tewa appears at the gate. She stands there with her arms folded tight in front of her chest, her chin lifted as if she came by accident. But she doesn't leave. The smell of warm bread curls around her like a soft hand pulling her closer. People notice her, fall quiet for a moment, then pretend not to stare. Sifa pauses when she sees her but keeps her face calm, her heartbeat steady. She walks to the entrance and welcomes her with a simple nod, not demanding anything, not offering too much, just enough to open a small door between them. Mama Tewa steps inside slowly, her eyes scanning the room, her expression stiff but unsure. Sifa leads her to a corner table, the one with the blue cup that has a crack shaped like a tiny river. She brings a steaming bowl of soup and places it gently in front of her. The heat rises into Mama Tewa's face, softening the lines around her mouth. She picks up the spoon carefully, like she is afraid of what might happen if she lets her guard down. The first taste surprises her. Her eyes shine suddenly as if they were holding tears she did not expect. A small sound escapes her throat, something between a laugh and a soft awe, something she tries to hide but cannot. The room grows still for a breath. Neighbors glance up, pretending to sip their drinks while watching from the corners of their eyes. No one speaks, yet everyone feels the moment settle over them like warm cloth. Sifa watches quietly, her own breath slow and full. For a second she feels the years folding together, the porch plate, the cold nights, the quiet tears, the sewing, the shop, the video, the comments, the rising strength. Everything meets in that single moment when Mama Tewa takes another spoonful, slower this time, almost tender. The cafe fills with the clink of spoons and soft murmurs again. People breathe easier. The air feels different, as if something old and heavy has begun to crack open. Sifa stands in the middle of her bright little cafe, watching the woman who once pushed her aside now eating from a bowl she made with her own hands. And for the first time, she feels the lane learning a new way to live. Change does not come to Mama Tewa all at once. It arrives slowly, like morning light slipping under a door. Some days she surprises everyone. Other days she slips back into her old ways without even noticing. But she keeps trying, and that trying becomes its own quiet story. One morning she decides to cook a broth for the cafe. She adds too much salt, far too much, and the first person to taste it almost chokes. For a second the room freezes, waiting for her anger. But instead she bursts out laughing, a loud, helpless laugh that shakes her shoulders. The whole cafe joins in, and the mistake turns into a warm, shared moment. Another dawn she appears outside Sifa's door holding a small dish wrapped in cloth. She does not say why she brought it, she simply sets it down and walks away. When Sifa opens it, the food is simple but made with care, and her throat tightens a little as she stands in the doorway watching Mama Tewa shuffle back home. There are bigger moments too. One afternoon she sits at a table in the cafe for almost an hour, her hands folded neatly in her lap. People keep glancing at her, unsure what to expect. Then she begins talking about her own mother, how strict she was, how little softness she showed, how hard it was to grow up in a house where tenderness felt like a rare fruit. Her voice cracks and the room goes silent. By the time she finishes, several people are wiping their eyes, and even Sifa has to look down to steady herself. But not every step moves forward. Some evenings, an old insult slips out of Mama Tewa's mouth before she can stop it. Sometimes she slams a door or storms out when she feels cornered by her own guilt. In those moments, the old order tries to rise again like a shadow. Sifa feels the sting each time, but she breathes through it and answers with calm generosity. Her patience does not excuse the hurt, but it gives room for healing to grow. Slowly, the cafe becomes a place where laughter starts as a small bubble and grows until the whole room shakes. People cry openly when memories spill out, and no one is ashamed of it anymore. The neighbors begin to follow the new rhythm, sharing dishes, softening their words, listening more than they speak. The community starts stitching fresh habits into old ones, thread by thread. And through it all, Sifa holds the space steady, guiding them forward with a kindness strong enough to change the shape of the lane. Years pass, and mornings in Mbala Court take on a gentle rhythm. Sifa arrives with her brass keys warm in her hand, unlocking the shop first, then the cafe. The sun lifts slowly over the roofs, touching the sign outside and the flowers she keeps on the windowsill. As she pushes the doors open, she spots Mama Tewa standing at the gate. The old woman waits there almost every morning now, not blocking the way, not commanding anything, just standing quietly like someone learning how to show care without saying it out loud. When Sifa steps outside, their eyes meet. Mama Tewa's face has softened with time. The sharp corners have smoothed, and the pride she once carried like a shield now sits awkwardly on her, as if she isn't sure where to put it. They don't hug or make speeches. They don't talk about the past in big, dramatic ways. Instead, Mama Tewa walks in slowly and sets a small jar of homemade marmalade on the counter. She doesn't explain it. She just leaves it there with a nod. Sifa picks it up gently, wraps it in plain paper and gives it back to her with both hands. Her smile is warm and full, carrying years of hurt and healing in one simple gesture. The cafe fills with its usual sounds. A child at a corner table bursts into laughter at a silly joke. A woman tasting fresh bread lets out a soft awe, surprised by its sweetness. Someone near the window wipes a quiet tear, stirred by an old memory that still sits tender in the heart. And in the middle of it all stands Sifa. The light catches her face as she smiles, a small laugh rising from her chest, caught between pride and tenderness. A tear waits at the edge of her eye, not from pain now, but from the weight of everything she has survived. She stands strong, steady, certain. Every plate once pushed away has become part of the life she built, one she cannot be pushed out of again.